HARK, we are here. It is time for yet another Star Wars Unlimited video. Relatively quiet week this week, but there's a big thing, for me at least, and for other people, that was showcased this week as part of FFG's previews for the game. Like I said, quiet week. We still have some previews. We're going to check those out. That's kind of what's probably going to be expected moving forward with some of the... We're not going to call them weaker weeks because that's not exactly what it is. Just the more quiet weeks as we're leading more towards the 2024 release. We're still in August. We still got some time. We got a whole season to go through. 2 seasons before we really get into the thick of Star Wars Unlimited. There's an exciting stream that's going to be going on, I believe, today as of release of the video. After my video is finished, I'll be taking the notes for that, checking out what they've got to do. I think it's the starter preview video, so on and so forth. We'll probably get some previews there, maybe a couple more questions answered. But for right now, let's take a look at a couple of the previews that we have seen so far in Star Wars Unlimited. Our first preview comes by way of FFG, and it is actually the end of last week's set of previews. This came out, I think, the day after I finished editing and putting all the video together. And it is a Vigilance card, but it is something we haven't seen yet. And again, as before with previous things, informs design based upon the game going forward. This card is called Security Complex. It is a Vigilance Base. It has 25 health. It is an epic it has an epic action that says give a shield token to a non-leader unit. It's from Scarif, and it is number 19 out of 252 and a rare in Spark of Rebellion. So this lit the community on fire because it was the first base that we had seen that had text on it. The 4 bases we'd seen previous, Administrator's Towers for Cunning, the Kadera for Aggression, the Death Star Command Center for Command, and then the Dagobah Swamp for Vigilance, were all 30 health bases with no text. This has got a text that's basically once per game is your action for the turn, you give a shield token to a non-leader unit. A lot of people are saying this is going to be the base that they are going to take over the regular blue base, Vigilance base, if they need to take a Vigilance base. My opinion on this card is I think the design space is cool. I don't think that a once per game shield token on a non-leader is worth 5 health. I think that if I'm sitting across the table from somebody who has this as a base and I'm running aggro, I'm loving life because I will absolutely speed down 25 health much faster than I could speed down, say, 30 health. Given that that's the case, if you need a shield in a clutch moment to be able to protect yourself from a big heavy set of damage, this is something that can activate as an epic action, not your epic action, because epic actions are separate. This does not prevent you from being able to play your leader for the game. This is going to give you the option to drop a shield token on one of your non-leader units that's protecting you, whether it's a Sentinel or something that you don't want to have die. If you decide to use this in your Vader Aggression deck, giving you Vigilance as your second ability or your second aspect for your deck, you could potentially put this on one of your bigger power units, not Vader, because again, non-leader, but your bigger power units to be able to flush out some extra damage in that aspect. Or let's say a future command villainy leader that wants to run Relentless. You throw this shield on Relentless, and Relentless ain't going anywhere for a long time. The counteracted problem is that if my opponent drops a shield token on a non-leader unit, I go, okay, waylay, and just remove them from the field. Or if I'm playing Vader and I've already played a villainy unit, or whatever the specific situation is, and I can play a villainy unit to be able to pop this shield. Shield tokens are really good. They're really good in the game. We've seen a lot of instances of really good examples of shield token usage. I just think for 5 health, this is not a great way to be able to play this base. There is a specific situation that I think that this base becomes very handy and basically mandatory for playing the game. In Flesh and Blood, you have what's known as your main deck, and then you have an inventory. The inventory allows you to keep basically what's known as side deck cards that you want to rotate in and out depending on the matchups, but you can also keep equipment in there. So if you have a hero that has one type of equipment that they really need, but you're going up against something that does a lot of damage against you that your main deck doesn't have a defense for, but you have a piece of equipment that can, you rotate the old equipment out, you put the new equipment in, and then bang, you're good to go, right? If Star Wars Unlimited is best 2 of 3 competitively, be a best of 3. And it allows you to side deck things like bases. I don't think you'd ever be able to side deck leaders, but I think it's reasonable to say you could side deck a base. Being able to run one aspect leader and then having your base be something that can switch in and out based upon a sideboard option, I think Security Complex becomes much more playable, because there will be a time when you might need this shield to be able to keep yourself alive against a very specific matchup. It is interesting to see how the gameplay would go if you can switch bases. It might even be something limited to where you could only sideboard a base of the same aspect that you already have. So that way you don't mess up your deck and go, cool, let me trade out this Cunning base for a Vigilance base. Now all my Cunning cards are out of aspect and I have to pay +2 for each of them. Regardless, Security Complex, if it's playable in the sideboard and you can switch it out between matchups, that might be the best way to have this specific base played in the game. So a lot of talking about a base. It's a complex series of game design decisions to put something like this on a base. We'll see what the other ones are. We will most likely see 3 more bases, rare 25 health, effect text bases for command, cunning, and aggression. We won't ever, we won't see any heroism or villainy bases in the first set. I don't think we'll ever see those, but who knows? But as it stands right now, I think that this is an okay base that has room to be better, but is very matchup dependent. Our next card comes to us by way of Echo Base Gaming over on Twitter. Link to their preview post in the description below. This is a fun little ship we get to see. This is the Starwing Scout. Now, I know I'm going to be massacred for this. I recognize this ship. I actually just don't remember where I first saw it. It's very interesting design of the ship. It kind of reminds me of a combination between like a Lambda shuttle and a K-Wing. I think this was in one of the old TSR RPG books. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I've seen this a bunch. It's an older ship. It's a cool one though. We have a 3-cost aggression Starwing Scout space unit. It's got 4 power, 1 health. It is a vehicle fighter. When defeated, if you have the initiative, draw 2 cards. And it is an uncommon 163 out of 252 in Spark of Rebellion. So this is a funky little ship, right? You have the option of playing this guy and dealing 4 damage on your next round, because it doesn't come into play ready, obviously. You can set it up in such a way, sequence your stuff, so that you throw this guy down, hope your opponent doesn't take the initiative, then you take the initiative yourself. That way on the next round, you ram this into something for 4, you get to be able to draw 2 cards for that. This conditional level of card draw is actually a really unique design for the game as a whole, and I think it's going to be something that is very creative going forward, because the liability of your opponent could do a whole bunch of things to prevent you from being able to draw the card for this. There's a lot of design space around this specific ship, and I think it's a very cool ship on the board. It is not morality aspected, it is only aggression, so you could play this in any of your aggression decks or any of your decks that include aggression. I don't believe this would be worth the out of cost aggression, out of aspect penalty for non-aggression decks, but I think if you know when to take the initiative and when to play this card, you have a really good opportunity of being able to draw the 2 cards pretty much every time. So fantastic little ship. Thank you very much, Echo Base Gaming, for showing this off, and thank you, FFG, for giving Echo Base Gaming that preview. Our next card here comes by way of Fantasy Flight Games, the Unlimited FFG Twitter account, link below. I'm managing my hype here because this is the single most important card for me playing this game. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite types of characters in all of Star Wars. Not my favorite character, but one of. He's a leader, so you're gonna build your whole deck around him, and he's a boss. Do you know why? Because his backpack's got jets, and his name is Boba the Fett. Boba Fett, Cunning Villainy Leader. When an enemy unit leaves play, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, ready a resource. He has the Underworld and Bounty Hunter tags. Epic action: if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. He's a 4/7. He's a common, number 15 from SOR. Unit side, 5 cost obviously, 4 power, 7 health, Underworld Bounty Hunter. When this unit completes an attack, if an enemy unit left play this phase, ready 2 resources. Boba Fett is your resource manipulation leader for Cunning, and I totally expect to see more stuff like this moving forward with Cunning. If I pull him, which I will, this is going to be the first leader I test. because I think that the resource manipulation that Boba Fett has going on is going to put a lot of cunning decks in the top tier of being able to get their stuff out, to be able to deal with your opponent's units, and to be able to overwhelm your opponent by eliminating all of the resistance that they have. The whole idea of this deck is to just shoot down every threat. And that's what Boba Fett helps you do. He doesn't do it directly, but he gives you bonuses for doing it. When an enemy unit leaves play, you exhaust your leader and you ready a resource. So effectively, Boba Fett is like his own resource so long as an enemy unit leaves play. Remember the context of that. An enemy unit leaves play. Boba Fett himself, when this unit completes an attack, if an enemy unit has left play this phase, ready up to 2 resources. Both of these have a myriad of conditions that can of ways to fulfill these conditions. Leave play. That includes waylay. That includes any other thing that says put a card back into your opponent's hand, put a card into your opponent's deck, put a card into your opponent's resource, put a card into your opponent's discard pile. Not defeat it, just remove it from play and put it into the discard pile. We don't have a lot of those effects yet, but as we get more effects that do those types of things, Boba Fett just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then the leader, when this unit completes an attack, if an enemy unit left play this phase, not this turn, this phase, so you can preload this, ready up to 2 resources. In my humble opinion, I already liked Vader. Boba Fett is the single strongest leader we have in the entire game so far. I understand we only have 6 of them, if I remember correctly, if my math is correct. This boy hot. He coming in hot and he's blasting you, ignoring Vader's no disintegrations. We killing everybody in here. The combo potential for this leader is off the roof. And I'm thinking that the best way to play this is going to be Cunning, Aggression, Villainy. Because Aggression's going to be able to give you the cards and the units that can shoot things or take things out of play pretty quickly and pretty cheaply. While Cunning is going to give you the surprise strikes, the waylays, the other abilities to be able to remove enemy units from play, or at least set you up to be able to do a big attack with that. Now, because he's Villainy, it's going to be very hard to play heroism cards. So you're not playing Han, you're not playing Chewie, you're not playing Leia. But we haven't seen what those characters, the opposite ends of them, look like. A lot of those characters, I believe, are going to have contemporaries in the Villainy side. And I bet you, I'd be willing to bet money, those characters will also be the bounty hunters themselves. Zuckuss and Forlom. We have IG-88, we have Bosk. I think those are all the regular bounty hunters that were on the ship. But we also have other bounty hunters that were active in this period. We have Black Chrysanthemum, we have Greedo, we have, I would love it if Jodo Kast popped out. For those of you that don't know, Jodo Kast is a bounty hunter that existed within the Galactic Civil War era that masqueraded a little bit, not intentionally, but masqueraded a bit as Boba Fett because his armor was a similar color and people know Boba Fett. So he not disguised himself, but passed himself off as Boba Fett. There is a Legends comic that deals with Boba Fett encountering Jodo Kast and stopping him from doing that anymore. Everybody loves Boba Fett. If you don't like Boba Fett, you're either disingenuous with your dislike or you just hate fun. Obviously not serious, but kind of serious. And a 4/7, he's sticking on the board for a while. If you wanted to play Cunning Vigilance, you can start stacking shields on this guy. You can start stacking heals if you can get the things together to be able to do that. I think Boba Fett at this point, Cunning, Aggression, Villainy is gonna be one of the top decks in the format because this guy is busted. Not broken, but busted. There is a difference. One last thing to say. When an enemy unit leaves play, that also means if an enemy unit leaves play on your opponent's turn, you can activate this because this is not an action. This is a triggered effect. So if your opponent slams something into you and they die as a result of that, you can tap, undo your resource, boom. Now you're ready to go. When this unit completes an attack, it doesn't even have to attack a unit. If nothing is left, if no enemy unit has left play prior to this attack in the phase, yes, he needs to kill something. But if you waylay something else, or you force choke, or you open fire, or you kill another unit with one of your units, and Boba Fett attacks an opponent's base, an enemy unit has left play this phase, so you ready two of your resources. It's the easiest thing in the world to be able to set up, and it's just, the possibilities are unlimited. Let me repeat that for you. The possibilities are unlimited. Hyped beyond belief for Boba Fett. I need him now. I need him now. Give him to me now. I'm excited to see what other leaders, what other characters, what are the bounty hunters, what are the leaders will be coming for Cunning. The heroism leader, I expect to also be really good. I think Cunning, low-key, is the best aspect in the entire game. But we'll see what happens moving forward. Boba Fett, 10 out of 10 card, because his backpacks got jets, and he's Boba Fett. He bounty hunts for Jabba Hutt to finance his vet. Our last preview comes by way of FFG, and it's a continuation of Vigilance Week, which is turning probably a little bit more into Vigilance Month. With the base that we saw earlier, it was part of a vote for people to see what was going to be available. I believe it was base character or base unit upgrade. And I honestly don't remember the fourth one. I didn't vote in the poll because I figured base would probably win just because people want to see more information about that. But with this one, we get Entrenched. Entrenched is a 2-cost Vigilance upgrade. It gives you +3/+3. It says attached unit can't attack bases, and it is an uncommon, number 72 of 252 in SOR. Now, Entrenched has a lot of really cool uses. Stick it on a Sentinel. Now your Sentinel's big and beefy. Stick it on an attack unit that only wants to be attacking other units. Now you got a big and beefy unit that's able to attack other units and wipe them out without too much blowback, or can take out a bigger unit than they would have been able to otherwise. But I think the most interesting tech for Entrenched here is attaching it to your opponent's units to make especially on one of their big beefy units that realistically is probably only going to be able to attack once a full round. Sure, your opponent will be able to eliminate one unit almost always per round if it has this attached, but it's not attacking your base. And that is a huge boon to the viability and the usability of this card. This could also, if you stick it on one of your things that you're using to eliminate units, can blow up in your face when your opponent doesn't have any units left and you have to attack with smaller units to your opponent's base to be able to clear the base damage off. But I think that's not really going to be a huge issue in terms of what you're going to be using this offensively. I think Entrenched is absolutely 100% a defensive upgrade, but how defensive it is entirely up to you. Like I said, attaching this to a Sentinel, big boon. Attaching this to an opponent's unit that you don't want attacking your base, big boon. Lots of really cool things coming out from this card. And for 2-cost +3/+3 with a slight downside, this is a fantastic card. I think the funniest thing for me is, well, first of all, it doesn't say attached to ground units. You can entrench a Star Destroyer like Relentless. But I think the funny thing for me personally is sticking this on Vader and just picturing him stuck in trenches, you know, killing random dudes, but not being able to go attack the enemy base because he's stuck in a trench. That's like the opening level of Outriders, if you've ever played that. Fantastic card here. I think it's really cool design. It'll be very interesting to see what these types of upgrades are going to be for other aspects and other types of upgrades. We have seen Vader's saber. We have seen the art for the lightsaber that Luke Skywalker uses in Empire Strikes Back. It'll be very interesting to see how they choose to name that specific lightsaber. I think technically it should be either considered Skywalker saber or Anakin's lightsaber because it's not technically Luke's as of yet because he didn't build it. But it'll be interesting to see what design space they fit with that. We could have Luke Skywalker saber that represents that, another Luke Skywalker saber that represents that, the green bladed saber from Return of the Jedi, and on all kinds of different space available for that. But this Entrenched upgrade here is actually really neat, and I'm excited to put it into a Vigilance deck. And I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a staple in Vigilance decks just for the defensive Sentinel capacity. And that's all we have for the week. Like I said, a little bit of a quiet week, but we did get the main man himself, Boba Fett, plus a cool spaceship, plus a cool base, all kinds of good stuff going on, and whatever else may have been previewed by the time that this video is actually being edited. I do segments to make my life easier. That's pretty much all that happens there. Anyway, that's all I've got this week for y'all. There's gonna be, like I said, there's gonna be a stream, FFG live stream. I'll put a link to that below in the description. Let me know what you think of the new Boba Fett leader, of these lovely previews we've gotten this week, and anything else you're excited about for Star Wars Unlimited. I think in like 2 months the slide cases come out, and I'm gonna be hyped for that. Might even be able to get the opportunity to showcase one or two of those on stream. Do the YouTube thing, the thing that's irritating to every single person that exists. Like, comment, subscribe, follow the channel, ring the bell for notifications for all of my lovely Star Wars Unlimited videos on this channel. That's it. That's all I got. So that's all we wrote today. Thank you very much, folks, for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you all in the stars.